Welcome once again to this demo on our course. Primarily, Editors Essential offers one course, which I normally call a specialization. Okay, so it's a course of courses that prepares people, aspirants for a copy editing career. The focus is a little more on the language aspects and to some extent on the formatting usage and other things, and also understanding MS Word's features in such a way that editing becomes more efficient. Okay. So a brief history about how this come into existence. Okay, so I started as a language editor in 2004 with a company called Integra Software Services. Many of you may have heard, which is located in Pondicherry. Okay, and then I quickly moved between different companies. In the first 5 years, I jumped 3 companies, other 4 companies. Fourth company, so it's a couple of months, so I'm always ashamed. Never improved it anywhere. So the first 5 years is about learning about editing and getting a grip of what is happening. And then I was given the responsibility of setting up the language editing team in Trichy for the company called the Scientific Publishing Services. I started my stint there in 2009 April, and I worked there for close to 5 years. So during this period, I set up the language editing team from the first editor. And over this period of 5 years, the team grew from 1 editor to 83 editors, and with a volume of around 10 lakh pages, managed or handled annually. And then I came back to Chennai, and I took up the role of managing the copy editing teams in TNQ Technologies, which is also having a branch in Coimbatore. Okay, so I started managing companies. Publishers for TNQ from one of the units in Chennai. TNQ had 2 units, and I was managing the copy editing teams in 1 unit. So I worked for close to 5 years, I think 4 years and 8 months or so. I worked with TNQ, and I came out to be on my own. In 2018, I founded Editors Essentials with the goal of helping individuals and organizations to learn and become better at copy editing, more specifically language editing. Even from 2008, I started my blog in the free WordPress.com domain under the name Editors Essentials, and the name slowly caught up. So I retained the name as Editors Essential, but unfortunately I couldn't register that as part of the as my company name with the government of India for technical reasons. So they rejected the name Editors Essential. So in 2020, I registered Tolga Publishing Services as a private limited company, but Editors Essential still remains as a copy editing training arm of Tolga. So basically, the parent company is Tolga. Editors Essential becomes kind of a part of it. Okay. So in 2020, I also started offering the online course. Previously, in the 2018-19. I was helping with organizations like NPS, Tech Set in Bangalore, okay, and other companies in training copy editors, or fresh copy editors and experienced editors receiving continual learning opportunities. So that is a short story of how I ended up here. So what copy editing means? Copy editing basically is about 4 things, 4 C's of copy editing. If you just look at the internet asking what is copy editing or what are 4 C's, 5 C's, there are different C's people attached to it. In my experience and in my understanding of copy editing, I would say copy editing is all about ensuring these 4 C's. Okay, correctness, consistency, clarity, and coherence. And this also kind of map to the different levels of editing. Even though we say copy editing as an umbrella term, it is not one single task defined worldwide in the same manner. Okay, in India we call it level 1 editing, level 2 editing, level 3 editing. In the international scenario, we call it light, standard, and substantive editing. Okay, so the light editing is all about. The main difference is that the standard of the manuscript. Okay, the language standard of the manuscript. When it is well written, the author has a good grip of the English language. We are talking more about English language manuscripts, or exclusively about English language manuscripts. and also academic publishing. Copy editing is applicable in any publishing field. So in trade, in books, in fiction, non-fiction, and all of these things, copy editing is applicable. And the roles of the copy editor majorly different between these different domains. We are going to stick to academic publishing as our exclusive domain. So two exclusive areas. One is that academic manuscript editing. Second one is English language editing. So those two are the exclusive parts that we are focusing on. So when the manuscript is written well, you don't have much to intervene. As a copy editor, you don't have much to intervene. And your role is more relegated to ensuring that occasional spelling mistakes or grammar mistakes. It is not that the author doesn't know these things, but in their focus in writing, in communicating their ideas, they tend to miss out a few things here and there on grammar usage and consistency areas. The copy editor takes care of it. So correctness is correcting the grammar usage and formatting requirements. Consistency, there are quite a few items that are consistent. Some of you are from the copy editing field already, so you know what I'm talking about. For others, it is about, for example, a manuscript, maybe a journal may be published in the United States, which means the audience is primarily United States. So the language has to be modified accordingly. So following American English. And there are certain conventions also associated with deciding between American English or British English. For example, the use of single quotes or double quotes, M dashes or N dashes, how dates are represented. As in, for example, in the British context, we say 1st January 2022. In the American context, we write January 1st, 2022. So there are quite a few items that differ between different areas. So ensuring that a consistent presentation is made is also an important role of the copy editor. Most importantly, content is a king. So that's a cliche reference, but still content is a king. And the copy editor is expected to ensure that sentences are meaningful. And so especially the correctness, consistency part falls heavily on the light editing part. Okay, most of the task that is happening in the light editing part or the level 1 editing part is correctness, consistency, with a little bit of focus on clarity and little yet on coherence. Okay, at this level, the copy editor is not expected to rewrite a lot of sentences or phrases or rearranging text in order to provide clear idea. So this is the this is one end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum, we have substantive editing, whereas probably the author is not a native speaker of English, English as a second language, speaker or writer. So there may be problems with respect to grammar, the right choice of words, or how sentences are formed, or how coherently the idea is expressed. So at this end of the spectrum, the copy editor intervenes, to a large extent, ensuring that the manuscript is understood well. So that is the bottom line. The copy editor has to ensure that the manuscript is understood well. So based on the level of writing, the copy editor picks the level that is required to copy edit. Sometimes this level of editing is given by the publisher or the author, or sometimes the copy editor has to pick himself or herself. So that's a different story. So basically, copy editing is all about ensuring these 4 C's in English language academic manuscripts in our context. Okay. So the next part is what makes a good copy editor. Okay, I have written about this. It's a long series. Some of you I have shared the blog post already. Maybe at the end of the session I will do it again. I really like the how it came up, so I make it a point to share it with anyone who is interested or thinking about joining a copy editing course. So basically, there are these 4 qualities. Once again, these 4 qualities are the bare minimum things, and there are a few other things if you want to build on your copy editing career at a later stage. But once again, different authors, different copy editors will have different perspectives, but everybody agrees on these 4 items. So this is a basic minimum to build your copy editing career. Okay, so one is to be strong in English grammar. Again, I remind that we are talking about English language. So English grammar, and of course, included with it are usage and formatting requirements. And the second one is you have to be, you have to have a flair for reading. because it's very important that if you are not a good reader, if you are not a reader rather, and you might find the copy editing role to be a bit difficult, because copy editing is all about reading manuscripts day in, day out, okay? 20 pages, 30 pages, 50 pages, depending on the level of intervention. So if you are not happy about reading, copy editing is not for you. Let me make it very clear at this stage itself. So the more flair you have for reading, the better copy editor you can become. The next one is eye for detail. You need to be able to pick things at a faster pace, and also you should have curiosity to learn, because copy editing is all about understanding what is happening in the field. For example, I keep saying this, how to capitalize, or whether the terms black and white, when we are referring to the race, okay, whether they should be capitalized or not. That is a constant question, and there is no single answer. Different writing manuals like Chicago Manual of Style, AMA, APA, they themselves differ between the usage, and there is a constant debate on whether it should be capitalized or not. So if you are in a team of copy editors, if you are among a team of copy editors and someone asks whether the term black should be capitalized when you are referring to the race, and you would hear that people give different opinions on the same question. So it's a constant learning process for a copy editor. The moment a copy editor ceases to learn, the moment he or she ceases to be a copy editor. So these 4 qualities that I consider are very essential for being a copy editor. And our role in our training program, the goal of editors essentially is to focus on the first part, because the second, third, and fourth are basically either inherent or it is developed by the person themselves. So our focus is on grammar. So when I say grammar, what I mean is that it includes English grammar, usage, language usage, and also other style related items like when to italicize a name, or when to use quotes, when to use bold, when to use underlines. So there are rules governing it. Okay. So we focus on those areas. Our focus is on the first part of these 4 characteristics. So having said that, what is covered? So our program is a 3-month program, when it is a cohort-based learning program and a group learning program. It is a 3-month program. In the first month, we learn grammar and usage. Specifically, we cover topics like subject-verb agreement, pronoun agreement, article usage, modifiers, and American and British spelling variations and conventions. And in the introduction to style editing, we talk about the different formatting requirements, using abbreviations efficiently. So those kind of things that are very common in language editing, copy editing. So we talk about those things. And these 2 topics are covered in the first month. In the second month, we talk about punctuation. A unique thing about punctuation is that we don't approach punctuation from a silos perspective, in the sense we don't talk about commas, what are the different rules that are associated with commas, what are the different rules associated with semicolons for that matter, or colons or dashes, because these punctuation marks, commas, colons, semicolon, dashes, and parentheses, they are interconnected in their roles. And there are certain mechanical aspects. For example, a question mark always appears at the end of a question. So the rules like this, I call it mechanical rules governing punctuation. Those are different, but we are talking about syntax based. In a sentence, where to insert a comma, where to insert a dash, where to insert a parenthesis, all of these things. For example, I'll give you a glimpse of what is that. 2 independent clauses are there. Okay, so what are the different ways to connect? When you talk about commas, one of the rules would be that when 2 independent clauses are connected, we use a comma and a coordinating conjunction. That's one rule under commas. When you talk about semicolons, we say when 2 independent clauses are connected, we can use a semicolon, may or may not be with an sentence adverb. So that's when you talk about semicolons. We can also, we have a similar rule when we learn about colons, and a similar rule when we learn about dashes. So when we learn commas separately, semicolons separately, everything everything looks rosy, and we think that we have understood everything because we understand the rules, and examples have been given to us and we cleared it easily. But when you come into editing, it is not a sentence level questions, right? Assessments. So you need to decide which of these four possibilities you are going to apply. Am I going to apply a comma with a coordinating conjunction, a semicolon with or without a sentence at verb, or am I going to use a colon, or am I going to use a dash? So that decision making becomes an important decision making at that point of time. So we are going to approach from this perspective. So in this context, in this sentence, what is the intended message and how that sentence should be punctuated according to that intended message. So this approach to punctuation from a syntax-based functional manner is unique, I would say. And finally, we will talk about MS Word features that are needed for copy editors. For example, what are the nuances involved in find and replace, wildcards we don't actually cover, but I'm just listing down the different features that copy editors use in their daily work. Find and replace, wildcards, track changes, inserting comments. So a lot of other things. Okay, so we can go a level ahead also with respect to understanding MS Word features. But we talk about features that are essential for everyday editing. Okay, so these areas are covered in the first 2 months of the training program, and this is theoretical. But having said that this is theoretical, I would say that it goes beyond theoretical also. I will explain in a moment. So the next part is hands-on editing experience. In the 3rd month, we will be editing manuscripts. Okay, short passages, 3-4 pages each. But having said that, in fact, each of the topics, each of the modules, right? For example, verb agreement. At the end of the verb agreement lesson, we will have 2 passages to edit. At the end of article usage, we will have 2 passages to edit. So these passages focus on individual topics or modules. Okay. At a later stage, we would start editing passages from a holistic perspective. Okay, without specifying that this passage contains SPA errors or pronoun errors or article usage errors. It's like a live editing on the production flow. So we will be focusing from individual module focused editing passages to real life editing passages that mimic real life editing. So by the end of this 3 weeks, you would have edited around 20 to 25 samples, focusing on individual modules and also from the larger perspective. So this is an important phase because you get to understand not just application of rules, but also the nuances that are involved in copy editing. So each of these articles especially in the 3rd month in the mentoring period, your articles will be reviewed. You will get a key in the first few pages, for the first few samples. But later you will sit with mentors. There is another person called Saravana Kumar, and I and Saravana Kumar will be involved in this training program. So you will sit with us individually or as a group and discuss all the changes you made, necessary changes that you made, mistakes that you committed, things that you did not edit. So all of these things we will cover, so you will understand where you are going wrong. So this is the plan for the 3 months. Okay, so the entire course is built like this. Okay, so as I said earlier, essentials of language editing is a specialization, which means it is a course of courses. It contains 10 or 11 courses. Okay, these courses are going to be offered individually for experienced editors. Any editor who want to improve their article usage understanding or simply punctuation related understanding, they can take their courses for a few thousand rupees later, as individual courses, but it is part of our specialization. So essentials of language editing has 11 modules. Let's say 11 actually, I'm not really sure. So let's say 11 modules, mini courses. So each of these courses will have multiple lessons. Each of these lessons will have multiple topics, and there will be assessment practice papers at the end of each topic and also at the end of each lesson. So this is basically following what is called Bloom's taxonomy for teaching, where we are ensuring that the learner understand from the roots to the larger context. So when we practice, when we do practice at the topic level, the focus is on ensuring that rules are understood well and they are applied correctly. And then when we move from topics to lessons, we are bringing in different topics under the same idea. For example, subject verb agreement, we have divided into 5 topics. So each of the topics will be focusing on one particular concept. At the end of the lesson, we will be focusing on subject verb agreement from a holistic perspective. At the end of the specialization, we will be focusing on editing from a holistic perspective. There is nothing like, focus on SVA or pronoun agreement or article usage, such similar silos. It is about a holistic approach. So this is the hierarchy that we are following in our course. And one of the special features is that we are trying to simulate as much as possible the art of asking questions. I, as an individual trainer, would prefer to train in a classroom setup. But in this age and time, it is impossible. Okay, we have different commitments, and it is difficult to bring together people to a common time. So a lot of constraints are available. So we are going to online modules. But how to mimic the idea of explaining a concept to a person and look at the person's face to decide whether the person has understood it or not. So we are trying to mimic it as much as possible. So you will find that our courses have a lot of intuitive questions asked and then answered later. And our strategy is to use a lot of examples. For example, in this entire program, we have used close to 1,200 sentences, okay, from academic editing, all of them from academic editing. So a great advantage is that, okay, so when I say that advantage, one of the disadvantages of many training programs are that, especially in copy editing, during the training program, they use a lot of everyday examples. Okay, I went to the market, or he is doing something. When they come into editing, when the learner comes into editing, all of a sudden it becomes technical documents. Okay, so there is a quantum leap from everyday English sentences to technical documents. So what we have done is that incorporate that familiarity at the learning program itself. So during the 3 months, the sentences that you come across, 95% of the sentences, or at least 90% of these sentences, are from academic manuscripts. We use everyday English only at the basic level to explain a concept, and from then on, application, the practice papers, assessments, they are all from academic manuscripts. And then for this 11 topics, we have around 11 modules, we have around 65 topics, and there are around 95 assessments and practice papers, which means you get a lot of practice during this period of time. It is not that we simply cover a theoretical aspect and then move on to the next item. We ensure that you get a lot of practice to implement whatever you learned. Okay, and I always believe in learning should be fun. Okay, so I have tried to incorporate as much as possible different items like crossword puzzles, odd man out, or fastest fingers. In fact, recently we have even added spot the difference kind of activity also. So this fourth item is a work in progress. We are working on this item to include as many activities as possible. So I think I have explained this earlier. So the duration is 3 months. First month we'll be focusing on grammar usage and style related activities, and the second month we'll be focusing on punctuation. Third month we'll be doing sample editing. And the batch is expected to start on 15th October, Monday. Okay. And so I'm going to stop here. And before I invite you, before I give you a demo of the site, I'll stop here, pause here for any questions that you may have. Okay, so this is a learning dashboard for an individual learner. This, saffron or whatever it is. So this is the main part of this page. Okay, it lists down all the courses that are mapped to you. So you will see that there is no course like essentials of language editing as an individual course. Even though it is here, it's not completely built it that way. So these individual courses or individual modules are going to be covered as part of our course. So you can see that I'm the admin, so everything is mapped to me. So you can see that there are 13 courses right now, 2 or 3 of them are incomplete. So 11 are there, and you can find all information about what is happening with respect to your progress. Okay, so these are all individual courses. and you can see that there are some small gray out circles. And as you progress, you will see that these circles are filled with green color. And you can also see the progress here, 29% complete. There are 17 steps to complete this module, and I have covered 5 steps already. If you have covered or completed an entire module, you will see that this module will be marked complete. You will also see a certificate lined up here. You can simply click on that. You will see that the certificate is generated. Okay, so referencing course that I have completed, I created this morning, so you will see that the date stamp is also there. Okay, and by clicking on the arrow, it doesn't have many topics. It's simply I just started building this. I'll go back to spelling variations, for example. So there are 16 steps. I haven't completed anything. And verb agreement, there are 17 steps. If you simply click on this one, I'll open this in a new tab. You will be taken to the course page where the course overview is provided, and all of there are 3 lessons here. This is all the courses will have this structure of before we begin, and the main content, and finally the sample editing assignments. As I said earlier, there will be 2 sample editing assignments at the end of each module, and each of these lessons are further subdivided into topics, which are small circles here, and practice papers, which are sheet kind of icon with the right and wrong marks here. Okay. So as you go through each of these program, each of these module or topic, this will get marked as complete. So for example, you go to English variants with a Greek connection, you will read about these ideas here, and certain important points would be marked like this. Have to be careful about these things. So at the end, you will have assignments and also quiz practice papers, which we call quizzes. Okay. So this is how a course page will look like. This is how your material page will look like. And with respect to punctuation, you will find some videos, but most of this grammar module is like learning materials in the form of notes. You will read them, learn them at your own pace, in your own time rather. If you have any questions, you can simply post a comment here. Okay, so the moment you post a comment, I will receive a notification that someone has asked a question, so I will answer this question. Sometimes the answers are not straightforward or simple to explain in a comment, so we will collect them and collect them for the weekly sessions, live sessions that we will have. So this happens usually on weekends or weekdays, depending on the majority availability or availability of all the participants, of the batch. Okay, so those are the 2 ways a person can clarify their questions. Okay, coming back to this dashboard, you may complete your quizzes. You will see the scores of your quizzes also. Individual quizzes are not associated with any certificates. I mean, certificates are not associated with any individual quizzes, but you can see the scores here, and also a small sheet-like icon and the date completed. If you simply click on this icon, open this in a new tab. Okay. So it will show up all the questions. So let me click this. So this is a actual practice paper. These are the questions, and total maximum mark of 1 for this question. I have given the correct answer, so I get 1 here. Incorrect answers here. Some questions may have multiple fill in the blanks. So 2 questions, 1 may be correct, 1 may be incorrect. So whether hints are used, sometimes hints are provided when the question is a bit tricky and the time you took. These are all not really important, but these are all the information that is available for you. Okay, so you scored 1 mark. Okay, this is a wrong answer. You can see that 1 is assigned with incorrect column. Okay, if you really want to see what happened, you can simply click on that. The expected answer is shown in green. The green color is the right answer. And I chose where. You can also see this radio button is filled, which means my selection, and it is also wrong selection, that's why it is pink. Okay, so you can see that all of this information. So this one, I've chosen the right one. The expected answer is green. I also chose the green one. So at any point of time, you can go back to your quiz. Okay, so it is not that you completed a quiz and then moved on. You will not know what mistakes you did. Okay, so you can always go back any number of times and review what happened in the practice papers and go back to the topic for further reading. Okay, so this is how it works. Now I have one course completed, so this one I have completed and I have also earned a certificate. Right now courses do not have any associated points, so it will be shown 0 always. So this is my profile and this is where you will start your learning at any point of time. So once you log in, you can go to this dashboard and start accessing the courses. In fact, in any order, but when we go as a batch, we'll go with a particular plan for the week, and then all of us will work in that direction. Okay, so you will have the flexibility in terms of when to learn, when to read, and other things. Except that we will say, for example, this week we will cover verb agreement and pronoun agreement. So for the next weekend session, for example, we will be focusing, we will be asking any, clarifying any questions that you may have during that week. Okay, so even the batch programs, we do not actually teach anything. It is repeating the idea, so it is not happening. But in the batches, the advantage is that we come together for clarifications, we learn as a team, and there will be a forum dedicated to us, so we can ask questions and everybody can pitch into explain or share their thoughts. So we would understand and learn progress as a group. Okay, so that is the most important difference. But otherwise, this timing and other things are flexible for you. So this is how the course will look like. So this is your dashboard, and this is your certificate that you receive at the end of every module. Verb agreement, you will receive one. Pronoun agreement, you will receive a certificate. Finally, you will receive a certificate stating that you have completed the course Essentials of Language Editing. Okay, so my strong recommendation is that you start sharing these things in, for example, LinkedIn. LinkedIn has become a great place to share, showcase your progress. So periodically showing that you have completed these courses, and it is telling your boss or your potential employer that you are qualifying yourself, you are taking the steps to qualify yourself as a copy editor with good chances of a hike or a promotion or a new job. Okay, so these are the learning areas. You can see that there is a handy menu on the left to access them. You can simply access the entire lesson from here. If you want, you can even minimize it. So you focus on what is in front of you. And this is a blog, and I think these are all other aspects of our site. So I'm going to stop here again. So the course, the fee for the course is 23,600, which is 20,000 for the course, and then 3,600 is a GST component of the fee. As I said, mine is a registered company, so I deliberately pay GST and other things. So that part of it is a for this particular batch, you can join this batch at 20,000 rupees, which means the entire 18% of the GST component I'll absorb as part of the regular fees itself, but you need to pay as a single installment. If you want a little bit of flexibility, you can pay 10,750 in 2 installments. So that's another possibility, which this works out to around 10% of waiver if you pay in 2 installments. If you pay in single installment, it is 18%. If you pay in 2 installments, you will get a 10% waiver. Okay, so that's about the fees. I think that's about the entire presentation also.